but it's not like you can't internally fake it and be like, all right, you got to be happy. Let's be happy. Here we go. Today is happy. You have to be happy, because that's not right too. It's like Abraham Hicks has that list where it's like how to get from feeling low to feeling high. And there's very, very small steps within it that help you to shift your mentality and your mood. So it's not like a jump from one end to the other.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the Quantum Coaching Certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for saying yes. This is like the coolest thing.
We're so excited to be here.
Happy to be here, girl.
Yes. So welcome to the Badass Manifester Show. I'll do the introduction, later, but holy shit. I have Krista and Lindsay here from Almost 30 podcast. I'm freaking out.
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm freaking out about your body, girl.
Love you. Thank you. I was just on a live video and I'm launching a program right now, and everybody on there was sharing about how they're, scared of putting themselves out there. And one girl does like eyebrows, and she's like, I have a celebrity coming in. And I was like, well, I'm about to interview a celebrity like in 5 minutes. So I just want to tell you one thing. Everybody poops, okay?
I completely agree. And we make that very clear.
We honestly have to remind ourselves that, because we, thank you for saying that, but we don't think that at all about ourselves. But we interview like people that were like, oh shit, they're coming over to our studio or my apartment. Right? And, I always remind myself, I'm like, yep, they have issues, they poop, they, do whatever. It's like they're humans too.
And I think that
reference I'm taking at my retainers. So,
oh my God, I freaking love you. That's amazing. I haven't worn mine in like 3 nights because I was just in Austin, Texas, and I partied my ass off for my cousin's bachelorette party.
Yes.
Fun.
Such a good bachelorette spot.
It is such a great town.
It's my fave. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. My cousin lives there too, and he like runs the town pretty much. He just has all these connections. It was so much fun. Welcome to the Badass Manifester podcast. I highly consider you two such badass manifestors. I mean, look at what you've manifested and created in such a short period of time. I'm curious, just to kind of kick it off, what do you think has been the secret ingredient in making the impact that you guys have made so profoundly in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I think one of the things that has really made a difference from my perspective is we're unafraid to go there. I think that a lot of people get into, if we use podcasting as an example, get into the industry or the business, and they go in 60% or maybe what they feel like is 100%, but it's really not. And we always went in with the intention that we would share pretty much everything, that we would ask the questions that others might be afraid to ask, that we would talk about topics that others might be afraid or shy away from. And we would never really go into a lane or a box that people maybe thought or wanted us to be in. So that was something that always made us stick out. And then we always focused on like our listeners too, and what they wanted, and how we could like evolve with them and help evolve them. And I think, Lindsay speaks to the community so well.
Yeah. And it's just like getting out of the way. So like thinking of Almost 30 as an entity that found us, like a little alien being that was like, hey, like I want to come into the world, and you two seem like you could rock it. So we did. And it's just taking the ego out of it, I guess. Like I have my moments where I'm like, oh, how do I look when I do that? But like at the end of the day, it's really freeing because it's not about us. And
Yeah.
we could just be the stewards of the conversation. We're learning right along with people, and it's not perfect and it's a little messy sometimes. And, you know, I, it's liberating because, we've spent our lives prior to this in different capacities. Krista in the corporate world, myself, in acting and in New York and LA, just trying to kind of be what other people wanted us to be, So finally, like showing up just as ourselves and learning right along with people like us, and we're all, like we said in the beginning, just human beings trying to figure it out, has just been so freeing, and I think a really magnetic quality of what Almost 30 is.
That's so beautifully said. And it's so interesting how like our most vulnerable selves, like keeping it 100, right? Like going all in, sharing everything. I respect that so much about you too, is what makes the impact and the influence and the money, all of it, right? It's just, why do you think people have it so backwards where they just, battle this feeling of having to be perfect all the time? What do you think it is that holds people back the most from being vulnerable and sharing?
I think it was probably something, within their childhood where they felt like maybe there was an opportunity or a time where they tried to be vulnerable and it wasn't received well by their parents.
So true.
And I think not many people that I know were modeled a vulnerable parent. My parents were not vulnerable with me. They were not vulnerable with each other. They were not vulnerable in any capacity that I experienced or saw. So I never really saw a modeling of vulnerability or a benefit to being vulnerable within the family, within the home, within relationships, within business. And I really had to find my own opportunities myself to be vulnerable within, relationships that I had throughout my life. And I had to find those experiences and those expanders on my own. But I think nowadays too, people don't really know how to exactly be vulnerable in a way that feels healthy for them. And it's really something that it's not like all of a sudden you're like, all right, I'm going to be vulnerable. And then people usually choose the route of like going on social media to be vulnerable, going online to be vulnerable. But it's really like small steps that make the bigger difference to allowing you to express yourself more fully and to be more fully you and feel more comfortable being vulnerable. But right now, because it's such a hot topic and it's such a beautiful thing that we're experiencing and that as a culture we're really diving into, mostly because of Brene Brown's work, it's been so refreshing to have the vulnerability be at the forefront. But I really do think that right now is a time where we really need to figure out ways in which people can safely feel as though they can do that and feel like they're doing it in a very authentically aligned way.
I don't think there's one sure way. It's like we're all so different. So maybe for some people, it's more of a physical vulnerability and actual opening up of their body. Maybe it's more of a talking vulnerability. Maybe it's a creatively expressed vulnerability. It can look so many different ways. But yeah, I think people, at least in my experience, speaking for myself, like when I'm too much in my head, I'm unable to really go there. I'm unable to really feel into what that feeling is and where that emotion comes from. And it usually takes a while to get there. But if I am able to like feel into my body and know where that lives, then I can start somewhere. But if I'm just starting from my head, it's like a fucking pinball. Like it just goes back and forth from like one side of my skull to the other. Like it doesn't really make sense up there. So like dropping down into your body, my body has really helped. But yeah.
No, that's truly great. And so many people that listen to this podcast are in the online space, are putting themselves out there and wanting to share. And even just before I just hopped on with you guys, people were sharing in the live how they don't know what's too much to share and what's not enough to share to make it relatable. And what I was saying to them was that, if you're out there online and you're just showing your life, right? And you're just showing what you do, but you're not actually sharing who you are, that's probably why you're not creating the engagement and the impact that you really want to be making. And so
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have advice for them as far as like, how did you figure out that sweet spot, like dropping into your body, but also like knowing, does it ever still feel scary for you guys to share something that, do you feel like you have to be healed from something, or can you share it in the moment? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally does.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I think about that situation, especially as it relates to people sharing online and thinking about it in that way, as far as getting engagement. It's like, we always have to remember the intentionality behind it, and what is the actual intention of you sharing this thing. And that's what's really beautiful about the online social media space, is that people can tell even when it's digital, and people know when someone's being vulnerable for, a reason that's not like grounded in intention, or what their soul has meant to be sharing, or what their soul has meant to say. And maybe, social media or maybe Instagram isn't their specific outlet where they're supposed to be vulnerable. Maybe it's in small moon circles with women. Maybe it's in one-on-one client interactions. Maybe it's in one-on-one friend relationships. I think that, again, kind of speaking to what Lindsay said, but it isn't like a one size fits all with where you should express your vulnerability, and finding that outlet that best works for you is oftentimes really good. For me, in my experience, so I started blogging, first, and that was really a creative outlet and avenue for me to express a lot of my vulnerability through writing. I loved the writing aspect of blogging. I loved that I could share something that was deep to me, and I really loved that I actually wouldn't get feedback back, that I would get comments and I would get DMs or whatever, but it didn't really feel like it was a conversation, but more like something I could work through and process personally on my own, and then share it, because it was like a finished product, and because it just really felt good for me to be in that process of sharing rather than having the dialogue. So a lot of times for me, within my vulnerability, I enjoy my vulnerability in my personal relationships that are very close to me, but vulnerability publicly comes to me from a sharing perspective, not necessarily engagement back and forth in like a dialogue within a conversation, because then that for me becomes, I'm representing someone else's story, and I'm only representing my story, my truth, and my expression. I don't want to be a conduit for someone else's feelings and expression.
Wow. Mic drop. Love it.
And I know you mentioned the like relatability too. Like, I don't know why that word struck me, but I think if people are too concerned with being relatable, then it might compromise the vulnerability itself, I guess. Like, if people are worried about the quantity of people that they reach in terms of relatability, I don't know if that's the point. Like, I definitely think just being yourself is enough. And if one person relates to it, sounds cheesy, but like, it's enough, and over time, like, that one person might tell two other people about, wow, this person online really inspires me, and this is why. And then those two people tell 5 more people. So then it's more of that, rather than being like, okay, like, what's really relatable to talk about right now? Okay. It's just like, it's so overdone. And, I don't come from a background of like, being in the online space, like the Instagram world, as like quote unquote professional, but like now I do take it seriously, but I also am allergic to the idea of like, okay, what's trendy right now? Okay, what's relatable? Okay, what do people want? I don't necessarily post what I think people want, I guess. I don't really know. I just like I actually don't know like what, there's no formula to it, but it just feels good to me. And then if people relate to it, it does feel really good. So there's that side of it where I'm like, oh, this feels really good. Cool. People are validating me, like whatever. But I also don't base my next post or my next story on like, okay, so that worked, and then I'm going to do this. I'm just kind of like, I'm more of like the actory side where I'm like, okay, if I feel like doing like a weird character right now, I'm going to do it, and I don't really care. But I do think that like, if you feel a connection with people over something that is really going on with you, and you're sharing honestly and vulnerably, then like, you can follow. I think following that thread is something that you can do if you feel safe enough to do it,
Yeah, totally. Oh, I just want to thank you both for being such an expander of vulnerability in the space of just keeping it 100, right? Like just saying what's real in the moment and being who you are. Like, you two are the perfect example of being who you are is enough to make an impact and change in the world.
Thank
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
So if you were to like give your future, like, so before you started the podcast, would you have ever imagined this is going to be your life right now?
No. Yeah.
So looking at that's, I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy, to be honest.
Lindsay, when you were before the podcast, were you an actress? You were doing all of that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've always wanted to, in some capacity, share my creative gifts. And I always saw that, I think, through my parents' eyes, or like people who kind of saw talent in me. I kind of saw my future through their eyes. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be a Broadway star. And then I was like, oh no, I'm going to be on TV. And then, oh no, I'm going to be this. And it was like, all of those things felt fun and possible. And like, honestly, it might still be possible. I'm kind of leaving all of the doors open. But what's so cool about the podcast is that it's fulfilling all of that and more. So, I'm not acting when we're doing this, which feels actually really liberating because I can just be myself. I spent a lot of just my time being a character, reading someone else's script. So it's really nice to show up, like for our live show the other weekend, and we could just go on stage and be ourselves. Normally I'm used to going on stages and being like, where's my mark? What's my line? Right. So it's just like being ourselves is so liberating.
Completely agree.
But that creative side of where I am the character, where I am singing, where I am doing all that, that's something that I still do because it's kind of like, it's like stoking the fire of just the general creative flame.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually feeds the podcast. It actually feeds everything I do. So I do that still because it makes me happy.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's really good to feed that passion too, and to stay in alignment with like, okay, I am a creative being and this is an outlet for creativity. Putting on a show is another outlet for creativity. Chris, are you okay? You're like, you're back.
Yeah,
I just want to come give you a massage.
You should hang out with me for like an hour.
She moves like this all the time.
I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm literally always like stretching. I'm always just in my effort to be more aware of my body. I am like trying to be more thoughtful with it. So every time I'm sitting, I'm stretching or like doing something.
Love it. So, question for you guys. So for me, in my journey of finding my voice online, I started as a yoga teacher. And when I started as a yoga teacher, I was a complete imposter. I wanted to be just like the teacher that taught me. I wanted to speak like her. I wanted to sound like her. I wanted to make sure everyone had an amazing experience when they left my class. Like, had to be like the best of the best, right? And I didn't know how to actually just be myself, And so I hid behind trying really hard, or I hid behind my personality, or I hid behind trying to make people feel great,
Yeah.
And I think that that's really common right now too, is people trying to find their voice, find their unique expression. And what would you say, what are some tools to help people do that?
Yeah, to find their creative expression and their voice. Especially in that situation, I don't think we had imposter syndrome a little bit, but at the beginning, our episodes were like,
didn't know what the fuck we're doing.
I went back, you guys.
Wow.
Don't tell anybody.
I was like,
so
oh my God.
I hope we can be comfortable someday listening, because I went back the other day just for like some research and
I know it's funny because it's like, you would think I'd be like, that's so funny, but really it makes me sick.
I know she fake vomits.
It makes me like be like, ugh. Because that was us being out of our voice, and that was us feeling like we had to be something at some time because we were on being recorded. And, so we've had that and we've done that and we've worked through that and we've experienced that and we've, gone through that entire process. And it was really for us, just the repetitions of continuing to do it, continuing to show up, really shutting off a lot of the noise from the outside. I didn't ask for feedback. I didn't ask for my friends' approval. I didn't ask for my boyfriend's approval. I didn't ask for my family's approval. And And I think Lindsay really did the same. We didn't ask for anyone's approval or what anyone thought. Of course, we took feedback and we were thankful for it, but we really just focused on what it is that we wanted to do and finding our voice and really crafting and honing in on who we were on the show. And it took so much time, and it took really that focus and not even listening to other podcasts. We would took a long time from listening to other shows because we didn't want that to dilute our messaging or what we're doing. But for people that are really trying to find their voice and who they are, I think there are physical ways to do it by, Reiki healing's really helped me unblock any blockages I've had and being more physical and finding moments within my life where I can really flex opportunities where I feel like I'm in my voice, whether that's like a conversation with someone that I need to have, or whether that's, an opportunity to tell my family something that I wish I had told them before. So I think that people can find opportunities that are outside of a public medium and forum.
So good.
In which they can really express their creativity and their voice. But it just takes tons of trying, and it doesn't need to look perfect. It just needs to be the continued act of doing. It's not like one day you're like, here I am, here's my podcast, and you put out one episode. It's like, this has been 3 years of finding our voice.
Yeah, completely. I agree with all of that. And I guess I would add to, because, saying like I host a podcast feels like kind of like a box of like, okay, there's certain things I should do or have to do. We start to tell these stories as we start something that we're going to make so public. But if you can find the time to really play out way, way, way outside of this podcast, so that when you come back to it, you're not having spent all that free time, quote unquote, thinking about the podcast. So it's just every time you show up, it's like showing up kind of new, right? And I think the play for me has really helped me to find my voice, because it's like going back to that child, right? Like, it's like, what did she want? She would like yell if she wanted something. She would like sing whenever. She wouldn't really care about what other people thought. So it's doing those things that are less of the adult mind, less of like the, what are people going to think? Or is this stupid? And just like, that could look like going to the beach for an hour and like rolling around in the sand. It could look like, going to a pottery studio and like just playing with clay, whatever, whatever that looks like for people. I don't know. Going to a Nerf laser gun. No, I'm trying to relate to everybody.
Yeah, just get out of your head, right?
Yeah. I just think like, freeing yourself of those like stories and expectations going into something like a podcast, which is still such a new medium. It really is, even though it feels saturated. Like, I don't know, I just still think it's the beginning. Like, you want to give yourself the best chance to just show up as new, as really clear, as just like kind of a vessel to be creative, to be yourself, to communicate with people. So
good. I think so many people care so much about what other people think, and it holds them back so badly in so many ways. And when you guys first started podcasting, did you have this bigger vision for what you wanted, or did it just evolve on its own?
Yeah, it evolved really on its own, and we let it do that. And we still don't have a vision for, we have a vision for our 2-year plan, but we don't really have a vision beyond that, because my mind and the constructs that I currently live with are not able to conceive or understand what is in store for us. I think that's the thing with manifestation. I'm a non-specific manifester in that I know what I want in a general sense, but I don't really go beyond that, because what will be created for me. And if I would have thought, and in my small mind 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I thought blogging was my outlet, but really blogging was an avenue to my outlet. Wow. And there have been ways in which my life has provided me avenues to the outlet. And that's really how life works. It's like, we talked about this the other day on the show. There's not like a destination. It's not like, okay, cool, we're here, this is it. That's not really how life works. It's always an evolution to something else. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think too, like I think it's, as it gets bigger, I'm air quoting that, because it does feel like it's expanding, and we don't know where it's going, but we're totally open and willing and ready to kind of serve wherever it's going. I think my challenge, and I'm sure Krista can agree, like, is within that to get quiet enough and still enough at times so that when these opportunities come in, however like small they are, in maybe like a conversation with someone or, you know, an email or whatever it is, just a little like hint along the way to get us to that next place, whatever that is, to get quiet enough and still enough to see that and then decide on it. Cause I'm someone like, I don't do well with like seeking and searching and going out and trying to get it. I'm more of a responder. So it's like finding that quiet, because it does get chaotic. It does get really loud. A lot of things are going on. Like,
yes,
some days it's like, oh my God, what is happening? But it's exciting at the same time. But I'm trying to remind myself to really be as present as possible. And that's over said, but it's true. Like, because then we can really feel into, okay, what's right here, right now, that we can lay our hands on, put our heart into, that does feel like the next like vein to the beating of the next thing. I don't know.
So poetic. I love it.
I don't think so. That was not
No,
poetic.
it really was.
You.
It really was. But I love
there's a lot of thing in there. So
what's cool is that I feel like you guys recognize how much of a vessel you are, and how, like Krista said, like, you know, your small mind. And I think that that's really powerful too, especially for this audience of people that are manifesting their lives and deliberate creators. Just because you're a deliberate creator doesn't necessarily mean that you have the ideal vision ironed out, because the universe, God, angels, aliens, all of the beings, they know they have a bigger vision and better timing than we do. And it sounds like you guys have like completely surrendered to that.
Yeah, it took a while. You know, it took. I think I was so dead set on my vision until almost 30 came to be, because then I got it. I was like, oh, I never saw this coming. So now I see that you know more than me. You know, before it was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a blogger and I'm going to be a soul cycle instructor, and that's what I'm going to do. Or even before that, I'm trying to think in my corporate job, I had a vision for my life in other senses outside of work, but that was really my vision. And when that sort of fell through and didn't come to be, I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. You know more than me. Like, as long as I'm living my life in alignment and finding ways to be myself in every possibility that I can, then you will show me the way.
Wow. Yeah. How do you let go on a daily basis in that regard? Do you have a process, or do you have a tool or something woo-woo? All the things.
Yeah, I think this helps. If I think, you know, I'm thinking about it now, like every morning I'll wake up and I'm just like super slow. So I think that in itself is for me letting go, because normally I would like get up, go to the thing, you know, I'd get up a half hour before I had to be somewhere. It would be very fast. I would rush through the morning. I wouldn't be in my body. I would be worried about what people needed from me.
Yeah.
But giving myself at least like an hour and a half has really helped me to be where I am, meet myself where I am, whether I'm like high, low, neutral, whatever it is, and move from there. And I'll pull cards in the morning. So I just kind of have like a little like ritual morning, and I'll pull cards and put on music, and I just sometimes just sit. Sometimes I think, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like cry. Sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like the slowness for me is really imperative when I think about letting go. You know?
Yeah.
Because the quickness of my mind makes me want to hang on.
Totally. And I think it's so powerful for people to allow themselves to meet themselves where they are. I think that's something that so many people don't do. They just resist where they are, and they don't accept where they are. Or if they wake up in a bad mood, they're like, I'm manifesting something bad, you know? No, and it's so not like that from my experience.
Completely agree.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know if it's age, but the allowing of who you are at all times felt like it came with age.
Yeah.
It felt like it came with the not wanting to be somewhere else or be someone else or look like someone else or feel like someone else or have the same circumstances as someone else. Felt like it came, like in my 30s, like late 20s, early 30s. I was like, okay, like this is it. Like this is where I'm at. This is my body. This is my family situation. This is my lineage. This is what I'm working with, like period, the end. And it's not going to change. And the life before me was kind of like looking outside and trying to be like, okay, what are they doing? Like, what do they have? Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of that external, and then it goes a little bit more internal when I'm 30. It's not perfect, but
yeah,
it's starting to go more internal over time.
yeah, yeah. It's so cool. It's so good. It's so good. And like, can you relate to, I mean, waking up and feeling like shit, right? Like yesterday I was hungover, the weekend caught up to me. And it's almost like, I vacillate in between, can I share that with my audience? Because I'm a spiritual life coach. You know what I mean? Like, is that something that people want to know? But I decided, fuck yeah, it is, because this is real. Everyone gets hungover sometimes, right?
Yes.
And it's like, just because you feel low vibe doesn't mean you're manifesting negative things.
Yeah.
Right? Do you agree with that?
Completely.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think, with that, it's like, I sometimes share when I'm feeling, I sometimes make it a point to share when I'm feeling low, because that expression feels good to me. It feels good to like have something in my head, and like, I'll feel called to like write it in my notes. And I love just like wordsmithing something that I'm feeling in like a way that maybe would connect with someone, but it's more for my personal need to express something.
Yes.
But yeah, it's always hard to be really honest in that way too. But I turn everything on myself, and it's like, if I'm wondering that, then I need to make sure that I'm not judging others for doing that. If I'm being like, okay, what are people going to think? Are they going to be like, oh, she like, has bad mental hygiene or something like that? Then I need to make sure and check that I'm not thinking that of other people. So that's like usually a good way for me to think in that way. But as far as like the low vibrations related to like manifestation of something negative, I think that there is something to catching the feelings and the thoughts that are low vibration, and it's kind of telling you to do something, or it's pushing you in a direction that is hopefully inspirational for you. But it's not like, and I don't know, it's hard because I kind of go both ways. I do feel like at points, if you are in a state of negativity, that it could potentially manifest into something that you do not want, physically or mentally. But it's not like you can't internally fake it and be like, all right, you got to be happy. Let's be happy. Here we go. Today is happy. You have to be happy, because that's not right too. It's like Abraham Hicks has that list where it's like how to get from feeling low to feeling high. And there's very, very small steps within it that help you to shift your mentality and your mood. So it's not like a jump from one end to the other. So I would suggest looking that up. I need to figure out the name, but that's really helpful when you want to shift your mode or mentality.
Yeah, totally. It's not like we can go, if we're angry as hell, it's not like we can just flip to bliss, right?
Yes.
Maybe we'll be sad, and then maybe we'll feel a little bit better. And then, it's one step at a time for sure.
Completely.
So what do you guys feel is, I don't want to say next, like, cause you're letting the vision carry you. Actually, before we jump into that, I just want to say, I also am an alien freak, number one.
Yes.
But I have to call them extraterrestrials, because I feel like they get mad if I call them aliens.
Do you know what's so weird is this is so weird. So I've been actually manifesting very quickly answers to things. And 2 days ago I sat with myself and I was like sitting there. I'm like, I don't think that they like to be called aliens.
Oh my God.
I was like, I kind of had that thought. I'm like, can you confirm that thought for me? Because I need to know what you guys like to be called. And then I watched this podcast, and it literally, the spot I started on was like, he's like, yeah, aliens. He's like, but extraterrestrials is what they should be called, because, when we think of aliens, we think of something that's this. And I was like, oh, wow, they like to be called ETs. So now I'm calling them ETs now.
Yes. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. And because it's talked about so frequently, I've always wondered, have you listened to Cosmic Disclosure? on
Yes,
Gaia. Oh yeah.
of course.
Oh my God. So deep in that. Right.
All of Gaia is amazing, to be
I know
honest.
Gaia is
We're actually working on getting some of those people on, like
yes.
George, or like just there's so many of those people, but it's interesting because you have to pick specific ones because they all have like specialties.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to really educate myself on like what exactly we'd be talking about because they're so knowledgeable.
And then we'd be kicked off iTunes or Apple
honestly,
Podcasts. So that's cool. Honestly, it happens.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Sweet. So when you guys like have been building this over the last 3 years, do you feel like you've manifested your guests, or or they've reached out to you? Like how does that work for you?
It's happened in so many ways. And I do believe that, you know, our ability to really be where we are and so confident in what we've built and done has brought in really incredible guests. And so many people have reached out to us that were like, huh, really? You know, like we would have never dreamed of it. So it's really cool. And I don't know, it's bringing it back to like how we started this conversation was like, they're a human too. And that's kind of like the basis of our conversations where like I don't want to talk about like necessarily your celebrity life or if that's who we're talking to, right? Like it's really like talking to them on a human level. And so, yeah, we've been able to call in a lot of really amazing guests and are in the process of doing that now. And it seems to get easier and easier. And I don't mean that in like a braggy way. It's just the forcing of things isn't happening as often, you know, the desperation of like, we need to get that guest on. It's just like, oh, we want this person on. And as we would have it, or as the universe would have it, like it comes in, we get an email, or we easily get connected to their management or whatever it is. So yeah, the non-forcing thing is really, I think, important.
That's beautiful. And how do you guys work that out in your relationship together? Like, have you ever butt heads or kind of like disagreed on something, or you guys just constantly manifesting epicness together?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever butt heads. I'm trying to think.
We're very different, you know, so I wouldn't say that like we're the same person doing the same things. Like we're so different, but it works together perfectly, you know, and we think about this a lot, and we really are so grateful because I don't think this is common. Yeah. So we've been able to, because we're doing the work, doing work on ourselves. We're doing work on ourselves, both emotionally, spiritually, within our careers, our skills. Communication is really, really important. I think that we're able to intuitively pick up on whether the other person needs more support or vice versa. So it's been really, really great.
Yeah, it's been just a beautiful evolution of like our lives. And, you know, it was beautiful when I first met Lindsay. I was like, okay, I knew this was something, you know, I knew that we had something special. But
when did you first meet? Sorry, let's take it back.
Yeah, we met 3 years ago, 3+ years ago, 3.5.
Yeah,
probably 4 maybe. And I was auditioning to be a soul cycle instructor. So I was trying to manifest being a soul cycle instructor. Lindsay was a soul cycle instructor. So I auditioned in New York. I didn't get it. I moved to LA, and then I got connected to Lindsay to help me with my audition. And she did, to her best of her ability. Everything. And I didn't get the audition. But from that point, I was going to maybe audition again, but I had met Lindsay and just we moved forward with really getting to know each other and building Almost 30 and getting to know each other through the creative process of Almost 30. So that manifestation of me trying to be a soul cycle instructor led me into something else that was bigger and better, you know, than I would have ever hoped for. Right. Although soul cycle is amazing, it's just, you know, this is more of a fit for me.
Thank God you didn't get that, right?
I know, honestly. I know.
It sucks you in for quite a while.
I know. I don't think I could have been sweaty like that every day.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
It was a thing.
I don't want to be sweaty like that.
You retired from that in the last
Yeah, just in December, I retired, and I feel so good on so many levels. I think physically, it's funny, like how, when you let your physical body rest more often, how much clearer everything else becomes. So
true.
like my brain started working better, just like spiritually, I felt more grounded. And, you know, but yeah, it was an amazing 4.5 years. I met so many incredible people. I got to like move my body and perform and like be just like be a part of Soul Cycle is a very special thing that's happening. And
I love it. It's amazing.
but I'm really happy to be just moved on.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did it work this morning? Did you guys like decide like, okay, we're going to go, whose house are you at right now?
So we have a studio. We built a studio in Lindsay's apartment.
Awesome.
Yeah, we used to go to a studio all the time, and then they kicked us out pretty much. They started locking the door when we had recording sessions. So
Like, okay.
So we were like, we have to build a studio. So we built a studio at Lindsay's apartment, and we record here when we need to record, which is probably like 5 hours a week, maybe more. And then if we're on the road, we'll bring our stuff. And then when we're working, we'll sometimes work at my place or sometimes work other places, but we travel so much. So we're always just like everywhere. But yeah, I'll always mostly come over to Lindsay's in the morning and we'll have our day.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's like you built a studio in your place.
Yeah, I have a little studio. This is like my live background. I have balloons here because Badass Manifestor podcast just hit 100K downloads. Which is
wow, get it, girl. That's amazing.
That's amazing. That feels good.
It does. Like, and I celebrated the heck out of it.
You know? I'm so proud of you.
So good, girl.
You guys celebrate every step?
No.
Oh,
we should. We should. No. That's a good, good reminder because we definitely should. I think it's like, I don't know. There's so much going on that like, I don't mean that in a weird way. I'm just like, sometimes we need to slow down and really celebrate that because that's a huge milestone. How long have you been doing it?
It's been a year.
That's
amazing.
Yeah, it's with the Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm like excited, and then at the same time, like, what do I even compare that to? Is that good?
You don't have to. You don't have to.
But that's what's nice about podcasts. You can't see numbers. I really enjoy that part of it. But for me, sometimes with celebration, I'm like, it's like whenever something happens, I'm like, oh, that I feel like it's like a piece that's coming. I'm like, that was meant to happen. So it doesn't feel like a celebration because I'm like, that was meant to be. So I'm just like, oh, that was something that was already written and already set to happen, and now it has come to fruition. So it's almost like I've caught up to time to something being true. So it never feels like I need to celebrate, but I really do because it's a thanks to the universe. It's a reminder to yourself energetically, spiritually, emotionally, physically that this is right and that you want this to continue. So I think it's such a beautiful thing, and I really think we should do more of it.
Totally.
Well, what do you want to celebrate today?
What should we celebrate today?
I want to celebrate the fact that we're chilling in August.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
I really want to celebrate that because we're about September to December. We're going back on the road. So I'm really proud of us that we've been able to carve out time to, spend time by ourselves. Chris is going on a silent retreat. I'm doing a little staycay by myself, spend time with people we love. She's going to spend time with Justin. I'm going to see my family. It's just like doing some spiritual work maybe that we've been putting off, like just doing that because we know it's so important to like who we're going to show up as in September, like just slowing down.
Yeah, because sometimes, I think about it, and maybe like as a yoga instructor and, as a fitness instructor previously, it's like after work, you don't want to get back in the gym. You don't want to do yoga. And I feel like even sometimes with us, we have that sort of feeling every once in a while where it's like we're so in the self-help space, the self-development space, that sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, I just want to like watch trash and eat trash because I'm like, this feels old to me. This feels like bleh. So it's nice that August we have time to breathe and we can really prioritize like a pause. Who are we? What are we doing? Who am I? Who is she? Like, who am I in relation to the world? And like, how has my growth developed over the year? Because it's August and like I need to really take stock of like what I'm doing with my personal self. Like, who am I? How am I relating to the world? And how am I relating to my traumas and wounds that, I have said I need to work on, but maybe am not.
So true and powerful. And I feel like that, like reflection and self-reflection, seeing what has transpired over the last even 6 months or since the beginning of the year, and celebration, they go hand in hand in a way.
Yeah, that's so true.
Mhm.
You
That's
know,
so
celebrating what you have gone through, and then also recognizing where the work needs to be put in. Can you
true.
just speak a
100%.
little bit more about like what is the inner work to you both?
Mm.
What does that look like to you? Do you have a coach? Do you like, is it journaling? Do you help each other in that way? I'm just curious.
Yeah, mine lately has been more of, so I did Reiki training that really helped me to connect with myself more, to know what to do. Um, and my personal growth journey has been started in 2012 and has continued. So it's been really beautiful to see myself evolve, and I'm really proud of the person that I am. But there are aspects of you that you always need to work on and you always need to change. So for me, it's like the journaling really helps, the meditation always really helps, sound baths really 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 help me. I think those have been like a huge part of my coming back home to self, and like as an energetic cleansing. I think the meditation helps with the brain, physical helps with taking classes that where I'm moving in a way that feels really good, and then the energetics is helped with sound baths. So I'm really finding that my spiritual transformation and growth is happening with the help of healers, with the help of support through sound baths, with the help of my meditation practice in a variety of ways. But I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a team you have to build in a way,
Yeah.
I'm in therapy, so I do that once a week. And then like on the physical side, I do acupuncture and cupping and more Chinese medicine modalities. And then I've been trying to like create, because I'm one that usually spends more time by myself than I do with people, or at least that's how it feels sometimes. And so I've been really trying to make an effort to either be one-on-one with people or in community with people outside of the podcast. I mean, that's like the best ever, but I want to diversify that. So whether it's like yesterday, I like did acro yoga with a friend of mine. I'm not good at acro yoga, but it was like fun. And I just felt like, and we were like talking throughout it. So it almost felt like friend therapy, right? Like just kind of like letting that heal me too. You know what I mean? Instead of just putting it all on me in my alone time, because sometimes that could be sad and lonely.
Yep.
And then just like also, I mean, yoga, like since Soul Cycle, I've yoga's been like my thing, and I get it now. Like people always talk about it. I was like, oh, okay, yoga, got it. I fucking get it. So like I've been doing it like 5 days a week, and I love it so much. And it's such a compassionate practice for me. Like I don't have to go into like a berries and be like, all right, make sure my bicep curls are like perfect. It's like things can be messy. They can be whatever you want them to be. It's so nice.
It's such a powerful representation of life, right? It's such a metaphor.
Yes.
Such a metaphor.
Yes.
And I know that both of you have had plant healing experiences as well.
Have you?
So actually, I'm booked to go to Rhythmia.
No way.
My gosh.
December 7th, I'm going with
Heck
like
yes.
really amazing people. Do you guys know Catherine Zankina, Manifestation Babe?
I've heard of her.
Lauren
I've heard of her.
Love,
She's
Badass
amazing.
Business Babe. Like so many like really solid people, and I'm kind of nervous, but I'm really really excited.
Wow.
Oh, you're gonna have so much fun. It's gonna be beautiful, especially with people you know and friends, and you can kind of bounce experiences off of each other and be there for each other. The food's amazing. The space is awesome.
It's just such a support. Like there's a support system there that is, I think, unrivaled. From what I know about that whole space of like plant medicine stuff, I'm really excited for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I listened to your episode on that, and it was beautiful.
Oh, I'm hopeful it helped you and made you not scared.
Exactly. Like everything that you were saying, I was like, I'm literally thinking the same exact things about this. It was like right into my head and soul. It was like,
That makes me so happy. Everyone says that. They're like, I really wanted to know about puking and shitting. I'm like, I got you.
I got you.
But also we didn't.
I know.
I
Also,
know,
yeah, exactly.
right.
We didn't.
That's crazy. I hope I don't. I hate puking, honestly.
You won't.
You'll
You
get
won't.
exactly what that's the whole
Yeah,
thing. And
that's
I
true.
really believed it after we went through it. Like everyone is experiencing exactly what they need to experience. And you remind yourself of that throughout. So we didn't puke or shit or anything crazy, like more crying and laughing and all that. But you remind yourself throughout, and they'll tell you this, like what is coming up is leaving. So it's like a healing happening. So if you hear someone wailing at the top of their lungs or puking or whatever, it's like what's coming up is leaving. So they are healing. Think of it that way.
Yeah, what's coming is going.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really
Right.
beautiful.
And being open to like whatever's meant to go will go.
Yes.
And whatever's meant to stay will stay.
And they really support you with classes. And yeah, I mean, no question will be left unanswered there. It's really amazing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm happy for you.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I will for sure. So, so doing the podcast for me has been one of the biggest business expanders, impact expanders, one of the best things I've ever done. And I know that inspires so many people that they want to start podcasts. And I know that you support a lot of women and men, whoever want to start a podcast, and you make it super easy for them. So I want you to share a little bit about what you have and to help people kind of step into this voice, step into their impact, into the impact that they really want to make on the world. Because now it's easier than ever to do that, right?
Yeah. Podcasting is such a beautiful medium for people to express their creativity, their message, just have conversations, whether they're funny or inspirational, what have you, and also elevate others, so bringing on guests to bring conversations, topics, issues to the mainstream media, because podcasting is becoming mainstream now, which is really exciting.
So cool.
But yeah, we founded Your Podcast Pro about a little over a year ago, and we are constantly expanding it because we just get so many requests and questions about how to start a podcast, how to market and brand a podcast, and how to monetize a podcast. So we're actually relaunching an online digital course that will be evergreen, 3 different course offerings, how to take your idea to launch, and then the next one, branding and marketing your podcast, because that's just the next layer. And there's no pressure in the beginning to do all the things, right? We always encourage people we want to set them up for success and get their podcast out there, because so much of the learning will be done once it's out, right?
So true.
And then the branding and marketing will set you up to eventually monetize if that's something you want to do. There's no pressure there. Obviously, people do it just for the joy of doing it, but others want to make it more of a business. So yeah, we're really, really proud of this brand, of this business, and it has helped so many people start their podcasts successfully, and they're out there just killing it. So we're like proud moms over here.
Do you realize like the ripple that it's created?
I don't think we do. Like we do and we don't, like
okay,
it's
we need
hard.
to have a celebration session.
I love that. You're so sweet.
It's so true though.
Yeah. So yourpodcastpro.com, and we're just really proud because it comes from our experience. I think what differentiates our courses and content and downloadables from others perhaps is like just the realness of the process. We have conversations included in these programs that just make people feel less alone, that give them a real insight into how we've built this, and moments where we were like, oh my God, what's happening? So that, we don't want to present it as easy or perfect. It has been a process, and the process of it has made it what it is today.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel the same way. And the truth is like, if I manifested a friend, Brett Gordon, who's now my podcast manager.
Nice.
I see what you're doing out there, and I want to help you with your YouTube channel. And I was like, I don't have a YouTube channel, but I would love to start a podcast. And he's like, okay. But if it wasn't for him helping me set all that up, I would literally have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So
yes.
It's such a gift to be able to do that.
Completely, and to support others, and podcasting is just so beautiful. So yeah, I'm so glad that you see the value in it and you see how beautiful it is, because we love it.
Love
Mhm.
it so much. I love it. I love this conversation. Thank you
Too.
so much. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Last nuggets of beautiful wisdom that you both share to help them on
Well,
the journey?
celebrate your wins.
Mhm.
I think we learned something today. We're always learning. Lindsay always says we're learning right along with you. And I think that is our takeaway today, is to celebrate our wins. And, everyone can find a win within their life. And if you look back maybe 2 years ago and look at yourself today versus 2 years ago, I'm hopeful that you can find a space to which you feel proud of who you are, what you're doing, maybe a relationship you have, or a habit that you've picked up. So finding those opportunities to celebrate your wins. And even if that's just like a 2-second internal, like close your eyes, take a deep breath and smile at yourself, I think that works.
That's beautiful.
And I think just reminding yourself that like you don't have to do it alone, and community has been the number one reason why we keep doing this and why we've grown, and just so many of the whys. So just reminding people that they can create community wherever they are. We do that with our ambassador program, but it's like they can literally invite people over for coffee, and ideas and inspiration and support will come from that. It could be 3-4 people, whatever it is, or it could be a huge event meetup in a park, whatever it is. I think people just don't think they have the capacity or the ability to do that. And there really doesn't have to be this big reason, it just, the bringing together of people is reason enough, because we need each other.
We really do. We really, really do. Wow. Amazing. I have to come to one of your live events.
Please.
Yes. Wait, remind me where you are again.
I'm in New Jersey.
Oh,
We're in Jersey.
yeah.
I'm actually, I live like on the same island of Atlantic City.
Oh yeah.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Let's have an event here.
I would love
So
that.
we're going to be in Philly at the end of October.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So that's not far from you.
That's 1 hour away.
Yeah, I would, if you can, just let us know.
Okay.
Come as our guest. But yeah, let's sell out Harris in Atlantic City.
I'm done.
I'll email our managers today. Harris, what do you think?
Is Harris? I don't think they're even open anymore. No, they
Dude,
are.
I mean, the last time I was in Atlantic City, wow. That was in high school after like a prom.
Wow.
Whoa, I'm just going back.
Wait, where did you go to high school?
Oh, in New Jersey, in Ewing, New Jersey, Ville Victoria Academy.
Oh, okay.
Really small.
From New Jersey too. Jersey.
Yeah.
Hey. So awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. You guys, I'm going to link everything up in the show notes for you guys to, follow these beautiful souls and everything that they're about. Thank you for making it on here to the show. I'm so honored. Wait, one more question before we sign off. I have to ask you both, what makes you a badass manifester? Even though I already know, but what makes you a badass manifester?
What makes me a badass manifester? Speaking my truth. I think when I speak my truth, it allows me to create enough space that where positive energy can come in, because I have a clear vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that when I'm just like allowing myself to be freely creative, so not judging what I'm creating or who's watching it or whatever, it's just like things tend to come in. So it's like leaving the door open instead of, shutting it to the expectation, just kind of leaving it open. But yeah, it's a constant practice for me. Sometimes I think I'm good, and sometimes I don't think I'm good. So it's a practice.
Yeah, that's so cool. And for those of you listening, when Lindsay and Krista talk, they sometimes close their eyes, and I feel like you're channeling.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Also, channeling, and also, yes, I suggest closing your eyes when talking, because it makes it easier. I think we're channeling, and it just makes it easier.
Well, it's almost like you were able to, because the eyes, I think, are like
scanning.
Well, it's just like an out to the thought. Like, it's like when you close your eyes, it just kind of comes in. So I guess that's like channeling, but I don't know. Sometimes channeling, I'm like, okay, can I say that? I'm just a human.
It feels weird to say that, but yeah, I do think we are. And it just helps me really get it out clearly.
Yes.
You guys both do it. I love it. I'm going to say that.
You should.
I can't see you.
Yeah, I know. So you're like, what?
I know you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Oh, this
You're
was
welcome,
a blast.
honey.
You
We're
made
proud
my
of you.
day.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let us know. We'll share with everyone. I'm so grateful.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
And we'll meet you soon for sure.
Yes. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.